Welcome to Knockhill Racing Circuit for the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup season finale. It's still all to play for, and if they can take it down to the third race title decider, then we're in for a thriller. So I'll hand over to you now, Duncan, for the commentary.
Thank you very much, Fiona Wallace, down there in the Park Fermé, the holding area I should say, for the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup race. This is race number one of three that we have today. I'm looking at nice, decent wet conditions. Wet track, but it's due to get wetter, so this is probably the driest it's going to be for these guys and girls over the course of the weekend. The Mini Championship, well and truly still up for grabs, and it does look like it's going to be between John Duncan and David Slay. Robbie Dalgleish with an outside-in chance. Maybe Robbie Dalgleish, though, has been amazing this year. From what he missed at the start of the year, he really has come back, and if he'd have put a full championship together, well, who knows what the outcome would have been, but he has been so special this year. Everybody else thankful that he wasn't here for every single round, but next year could be the year of the Dalgleish. But let's get 2018 out of the way first of all. The Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup guys and girls on their way around for their warm-up lap as we're at Clark Corner just now. The camera looking back out over towards Edinburgh. You can see the Pentlands way in the distance, and you can only see them just because they're a bit of a vague outline. So they're getting two warm-up laps here. These weather conditions looking pretty grim, to tell you the least, or to say the least. The green flag in the air from the marshals here, and this is where we need to thank our marshals and the medics and everybody who stands out there in these very tricky wet conditions. They do a cracking job. Sometimes they do get sunburnt. Unfortunately this weekend, well, they're going to get soaked or scorched. That's what can happen here. The grid marshals starting to make their way out onto the grid. And well, you can pick a winner for this one. It shall be pretty exciting and interesting, that's for sure. The minis always give us some fabulous racing. Excuse me. They never let us down. On a Robbie Dalgleish on pole position from David Slay, and that's going to be the way it goes. Mark GERAGHTY, Hannah Chapman out there as well, and that's quite interesting that we've got Mark GERAGHTY because he's been double dunting this weekend. He's also in the Fiesta ST. So Mark GERAGHTY, well, he is the number one plate in this championship because, yeah, he was a 2017 champion. He knows how to drive a Mini. He decided that he was going to take a year out from racing, but then decided he couldn't take the whole year out from racing and just cherry-picked a few events that he wanted to do. And he's ended up being in two cars at the last meeting of the year. And, well, he's been absolutely flying in the Fiesta, which he put on pole position. And he's right up there in the Mini. So the man, GERAGHTY, knows exactly what he's doing inside these cars. Let's see how he gets on, and let's see what happens, because this is going to be an exciting race no matter what. I can't wait for it. And as I say, the Minis never ever let us down here at Knockhill Racing Circuit. Craig Blake's back as well. Hashtag make way for Blake. We saw him a little, so we say, robust in the earlier rounds, as John Duncan, after a terrible qualifying, comes through the hairpin there on the lock stops. You can see that John all the way down there, 13th position after qualifying. And it just didn't work for GD in qualifying. So let's see how race number one pans out for us as the camera looks round and picks up the Minis. And an interested spectator there on the sidelines. Well, if you've got a favourite driver, how do you think they're going to get on? It should be quite interesting. The return of Barry Holmes as well. We should say that. Barry in one of the best looking Minis I've seen in an awful long time out there on the track. So we're under starters orders. We've had the warm-up laps now, and let's see how the Minis get on for race number one. The SMRC season finale for the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup, race number one of three for this slot. A 9-lap splash and dash, you could call it, because of the conditions, but it's really just a 9-lap dash. For the cash, maybe not. But let's see how we get on. Right on the money. Window wipers on, but imagine the heaters will be on as well. Keep those windscreens clear. We've got a full complement of light. Lights out. Let's go racing here at Knockhill for the final round of the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup. Guys and girls down towards Duff's Dip for the first time of asking. Everybody needs to hold their breath. So much can be won and lost here. David Slay's fighting at the front. John Duncan's fighting it out in the mid to rear pack just now as we come down through Leslie's, and everybody jostles for position in towards McIntyre's. David Slay's in the gravel trap. He's wide. He comes back on in front of Ian Monroe and one of his teammates there. So that was getting very close. Josh Hislop that was, just behind David. as Slay makes a mistake. Oh, Weddle extremely sideways over the crest of the chicane there, and just trying to keep himself out of trouble is John Duncan, who really has to just do that. Car number 24 is Craig Blake. Good Lord, we saw the back wheel of that car before, we saw the front wheel coming through Clark's. It was that sideways, but everybody tippy-toes through and heads towards the apron. Russ Wilkinson all the way at the back, side by side, in towards the apron though. It's Robbie Dalgleish once again on the inside, trying to defend from Mark GERAGHTY, who's sideways through the hairpin from Hannah Chapman, David Slay, Ian Munro, and that was Dom Wheatley as well. We hold our breath to make sure everybody else gets through. A bit of contact further down there. That looked like number 92. Was it 92? Was that Simon Holden this actually? It would be 52 if it was. Yes, and that'd be correct. And who's that on the inside of the hairpin? That's not Craig Blake, is it? Doing a little bit of 4x4 there. Something's obviously happened on the way out of the hairpin, and he's been turned around and fired across the grass on the inside. So that was lap number 1 done and dusted. Thankfully everybody keeps on the go. No, it's Robbie Dalgleish. Dalgleish goes off at turn 3 McIntyres and rejoins in 5th position there, so that's something we haven't seen very much of. He goes off directly in front of Mark GERAGHTY and comes on just round about David Slay, as we see Jim Moyer, the SMRC photographer, walking through the bottom of our picture there, and Robbie Dalgleish and Ian Munro getting very close together. And look at that, John Duncan has worked his way up into round about 8th place already, so looking pretty good for John Duncan actually. He's done very well at the start of this race to keep himself out of trouble, not have any wheel banging sessions, and just try and methodically get his way towards the front, when other people have decided to try and leave the road surface. David Slay, Robbie Dalgleish being two of those guys that we don't normally see doing that. Underneath Josh Hislop goes John Duncan there, and that was a decent little move as Ross Wilkinson fires it underneath Simon Holderness. And well, we don't wait for Craig Blake because it would have been something special, I'm pretty sure, if he had come into view. Mark GERAGHTY, car number 1, leads on the road, and I've wanted to say that all year. It's so good to see the number 1 plate back on track and at the front. So many times we don't see the number 1 car on track, and it's Hannah Chapman that goes off this time at McIntyres. Chappers launches it into the gravel and rejoins in 5th place. It seems to be what happens. You go into McIntyres, you go off, you come back on 5th. And all this is helping Mark GERAGHTY just streak away at the front. Look at him going through Clark Corner. Robbie Dalgleish now in 2nd place. Or Michael Weddle. Where's Michael Weddle come from? And he's slotted himself up into that top 3 just now. So Weddle will be delighted with that. Well, everybody else kind of loses their head around about him. Michael Weddle making hay while the sun shines? Maybe not. Anyway, in towards the hairpin. Weddle on the outside off car number 91, Robbie Dalgleish. Then we've got David Slay entering very, very fastly with Dom Wheatley behind him. Ian Munro tries to go underneath Chappers, and then it's John Duncan. A little bit of manoeuvring back down. That looked like it was once again Fiona Kindness at the back there. That's one car I can definitely pick up. Fiona Kindness comes through and makes her way up the main street in the track Scotland car as Chappers goes over the top of Duffy's Dip with Ian Munro glued to her bumper. Weddle looks at the outside. He's trying to cut back through the apex of the corner and get underneath Robbie Dalgleish. That's a clever manoeuvre. Has he got enough of the car alongside? No, he hasn't. Dalgleish just chops across the nose there. And yeah, conditions drier than they were in the Fiesta race, which we saw. Having said that, or Fiesta qualifying, I should say. But right now, not too bad. It does look like it's getting darker, and the camera might be making it look a little brighter than it actually is for us out there as we come through Clark Corner and head towards the hairpin. It's all about getting these laps in the bag. GERAGHTY, look at that for a lead for Mark GERAGHTY. That's fabulous stuff, and he'll be absolutely loving this as in towards the hairpin comes Robbie Dalgleish, chased by Michael Weddle and the rest of the pursuing pack. David Slay in there with Dom Wheatley, currently 5th place, 6th for Chappers. John Duncan up into 7th place, and that's a pretty good run so far for John Duncan as they come up over the crest of the hill. We've got Ashley Morris in there as well, and was that Dougie Simpson just going past? Yes, it was. They're together on track. As through Leslie's again, Weddle tries it on the outside. Robbie Dalgleish knows what he's doing here, so he cuts it tight through the apex. Weddle bounces over the sausage curb. He's got a bit of car alongside him this time. What is Robbie Dalgleish going to do? Robbie Dalgleish again braves it on the outside. The camera just not quick enough to catch up with that one. However, we see as they come through the chicane the outcome of that, and Robbie Dalgleish, it's not his first rodeo. We can see what Michael Weddle's trying to do, and Robbie Dalgleish looks a little bit off the pace in these dark conditions as Hannah Chapman gets a almost helping hand through Clark's from John Duncan. Morris, Simpson come through together. And Richard Sutherland involved in that as well as they head towards the hairpin. And another big shot off the lead for Mark GERAGHTY as he comes in. David Slay has been passed by Dom Wheatley now. So young Dominic Wheatley making his way up towards, can he get in the podium spot? So Dom Wheatley can see the podium just ahead of him. Michael Weddle is there just now, and Dalgleish is in second place as they go over the crest hill. Chappers has gone down a position to John Duncan, and that is pretty good showing from John Duncan considering he did qualify way down the mid-pack. Oh, Michael Weddle has a big moment going down Duffy's dip there, but he managed to correct that as they come through the heart of McIntyre's, and Dom Wheatley is dragging up to the back of those two, Dalgleish and Weddle, and he's bringing David Slay with him. Look at that, Dom Wheatley has got a good head of pace here as, oh, Robbie Dalgleish makes a mistake. He's going to lose 1-2 positions definitely to that one. Will David Slay have a shot? Dalgleish defends into Clark's. David Slay goes right round the outside. It's a brave manoeuvre from David Slay. He's got so much to lose here, and he decides to back out with that one. But what he's going to do now is David Slay's going to look in his mirrors and think, where did you come from? It's John Duncan, the next car that he's going to see, because David Slay knows exactly where John Duncan qualified, and he's going to see that number 24 car in his mirrors, and he's possibly going to think, what have I got to do? Up the inside goes John Duncan. What a brilliant overtaking manoeuvre, clean as a whistle, clean as you like. David Slay has got absolutely no answer for that as they come up the main straight. He does try and pop back out from behind John Duncan, but John Duncan covers that on the run up the hill underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. Chappers thinks about the outside of David Slay, but she's a brave young woman if she does want to make that manoeuvre still. Oh, Michael Weddle, in fact, sorry, still, what am I saying? Michael Weddle has now got Dom Wheatley. He's right on the back of him as Ian Munro ploughs into McIntyre's, manages to miss all the cars, but doesn't give Hannah Chapman much in the way of, well, any choice, but basically almost come to a grinding halt going through the apex of the corner. And I did say that Dom Wheatley had pace. Now, Robbie Dalgleish made a mistake at the chicane, and he lost those two positions to Michael Weddle and Dominic Wheatley. But Dom Wheatley had the pace. He is now in second place, and fastest lap of the race is currently in the hands of Dom Wheatley, and that's a 66.1 second lap. So Dom Wheatley visually looks fast, and also backing that up is his timing sheets, the timing screens here, so that's good news for Wheatley. Having said that, he can still in his mirrors see 7 and 91. Robbie Dalgleish isn't finished yet. John Duncan's pulled away from David Slay, who's now got Chapman and Munro behind him as they come up and over the crest of the hill. This is a pretty tense affair. Robbie Dalgleish doesn't make a very good apex at the top of Duffus, and see how much time he's lost now. So these guys that have been absolutely dynamite in the dry all year actually starting to struggle a little bit in the wet. And look at that. Meanwhile, over the crest of the hill, without sending too much late Clarkson there, meanwhile, Mark GERAGHTY just pulls away into distance. He's not actually extending his lead. The lead is actually coming down. But I've got to say, I think Mark GERAGHTY is just controlling it. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. He needs to win the race at the slowest possible pace and take maximum points. That's what he wants to do. He wants to get a win in this Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup class, just to remind everybody who the daddy really is, who carries the number 1 plate, and who is the boss. And if he wants to come back, he can, and he'll win. Here we go. I'll get the check in the post, Mark, thank you. As he leaves the hairpin up the main straight, number 1 Mark GERAGHTY goes past the start-finish line there, the finish line. Then we've got Wheatley, Weddle and Dalgleish. Looked further back in towards the hairpin there, but this is definitely where the battle's happening. The second place is for second, third and fourth. Is for a bit of honours here. Wheatley, Weddle and Dalgleish. And will there be a manoeuvre towards the end of the race? Has anybody got anything left in the locker? We'll find out as they come through. John Duncan, got to say, stellar drive from this man, as David Slay once again has problems at McIntyre's, and Chappers has problems, and their problems number 23 for her. That's Ian Munro, who cuts underneath her on the exit of McIntyre's, and he takes that position before Butchers. Good, classy, clean manoeuvre by Ian Munro, that. And he will be pretty happy with that one, although he won't be happy he's battling that far back, and neither will Hannah, because they can see what's ahead of them and they know that they can hold that pace and get up there. There goes Dougie Simpson through our shop. Then we should have Ashley Morris. We got a very quick glimpse of the quick young lady from Thurso. But up towards the checker flag, he came, he saw, he conquered in race number 1. The defending champion come back for a meeting, and Mark GERAGHTY with the number 1 plate wins the mini race from Dom Wheatley and Michael Weddle. Robbie Dalgleish comes home in 4th place. A fabulous recovery drive for John Duncan, who finishes ahead of David Slay, with Ian Munro and Hannah Chapman coming through. And the results there: Dougie Simpson is 9th, and rounding out the top 10 will be Ashley Morris and Richard Sutherland. What a cracking first mini race. Let's hand back down to young Fiona Kindness. No, it's not. It's young Fiona Wallace, I should say. Kindness still out on track. Let's see what wee Fee's got to say about that. I guarantee she's going to be a little bit cold down there. But let's see what the drivers have got to say for that as the last runners come through just now.
Well done, Michael, P3 there. You've wrapped up the newcomers last time out, so are you just out for fun today, or any team tactics involved?
No, today is basically going pot hunting, so I was kind of aiming to try and get 6 trophies today, see what happens, so I've not done that yet. So to get another 2 to start off, starting from 8th, I'll take it. It's a good start to the day.
Yeah, really good start today. So any plans for race 2?
Much the same, but hopefully be in front of the other 2 cars that finished in front of me this time and then run away with it. That's the plan.
Well, it'd be good to see you in the top step.
That's the plan anyway.
Good, we'll have fun out there today.
Cheers, I will try.
Well done, Mark, or is it well done to Sharon? I'm so happy for her.
She's an old car, but she goes well. Yeah. It just worked out in my favour. Robbie and David both loose rear end stepping out, and the McIntyre managed to nip down the inside, and I couldn't believe the gap that pulled out. So it was just trying to maintain that gap. I could see Dom had obviously came flying through the field, and he's always quick in the wet. So it was just staying off the curbs, not wanting to slide out too much. So probably them last 4 laps, I'm not setting any lap records, but it was just wanting to bring it home, and obviously want to return. You always want to win, so that's what we've done. But I've got to thank Bonton Security Services for this weekend for getting me out both in the Mini and the Fiesta as well, helping us out this weekend. And we'll look over the winter and see if we're going to come back out or not. So see how it goes.
So you've got all the hard work to do in the Fiestas now as well. How's it going to be easy jumping from car to car?
I don't know, we'll soon see. It wasn't planned. It was done a deal with Paul Curtis at PCR to come out, because I was trying to get hold of a Mini, but I didn't know if there was any available. Kind of put the feelers out, and then the last minute deal with Scott, so we thought, why not? We're guest driving, we're not scoring any points, we're just out to have some fun, so it started off very well. So
good, well, hope you have fun today.
Hopefully, yep. Thanks, Fee.
Thanks, Mark. With Dominic here, you started 10th up to 2nd. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a good race. It was tough coming from 10th. It was, especially when it's wet, because people are a bit more unpredictable where they're going to be on track. But it does make it a bit more fun coming through. And no, it was a good race, clean race as well. Like I say, in these conditions, even if you don't mean to make contact, you lose traction. All of a sudden you're in the side of someone, but everybody gave each other that extra bit of room, and no, it was great. Good race.
How are the conditions out there today? Is it fully wet, or is it the in-between stages where it's quite greasy?
It's greasy, but also I think parts of the track have been relayed, so there's quite a lot of oil still coming out of that. So I think everybody was really struggling, especially in them first few laps, to gauge the grip level. But no, it's greasy, and maybe if there's a bit more rain to come, it might get worse. But
so you're hoping for a win today?
Hopefully, yeah. I've done the hardest bit of work in race 1, so just one more step to go, and that'll be the win.
Good, well, best of luck, and I look forward to seeing what you can do.
Perfect, thanks.
So I'll hand over to you, Duncan, for race 2. It's still all to play for. Let's see what happens.
Thank you very much, Fiona, down there in pit lane. And well, look at this, what a turnaround. We had compared to what we've got now, we had a dry track for race number 1. This is a full wet track. Weather conditions have deteriorated loads, to say the least. There's a good word. And yeah, the drivers are now very much up against it. Having said that, the Knockhill Racing Circuit's tarmac does give you back quite a lot of grip in these tricky wet conditions, but it is now full on wet weather. And normally the camera makes it look a little bit brighter or dimmer. It's just not very nice out there at all. Mark GERAGHTY, the man who won race number 1 ahead of Dom Wheatley and Michael Weddle, with Robbie Dalgleish and John Duncan. Well, it's basically the grid is the starting order. I was waiting to see David Slay there, very energetic coming through there. through the hairpin in his 6th place for his starting. Ian Monroe will be starting 7th, from Hannah Chapman, Dougie Simpson and Ash Morris rounding out the top 10 off the grid. So it basically mirrors the finishing order from race number 1, and as Fiona did point out, and she did pick up, it is still well and truly up for grabs. This is going to go down to the wire, the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cups. David Slay, John Duncan. David Slay will be thinking, what have I got to do? John Duncan drove an absolute blinder in race number 1 there to come from a woeful qualifying position and to get himself all the way up into the top 5. It was a great drive from John Duncan. He picked his moments very wisely. He didn't do anything silly. Managed to finish in 5th place, and he put himself in the driving seat for the Mini Championship. Having said that, there's still 2 races to go, and anything could happen here as the cars get put into their grid slots. Proper wet weather now. Credit to the camera people from the Edinburgh College and all the marshals who are out there on the grid or at the marshals post for their hard work and dedication today. Definitely need their lunch and something hot to drink tonight, one would imagine. So we'll get a green flag at the back once the guys are happy with where all the cars are in their grid positions. And there we go, as a couple of marshals run down the pit wall in a bid for safety and maybe freedom. We now go through the 1 minute board, the 30-second board, the 5-second board, and then we will go through the start procedure for the lights on the bridge here for race number 2. An 9-lap race for the minis, and oh, so much action gets packed into 9 laps of racing around Knockhill's 1.267 mile circuit. Let's see, hold your breath. Who's it going to be? Can Mark GERAGHTY do it 2 out of 2, or how will he get on here? He definitely wants to try and come and win. He won the first race. Well, you never know. 3 out of 3 has been done before. He looked pretty dominant in that first race. We've got a full complement of very bright red lights. Lights out, let's go racing as they all head down towards Duffy's Dip. Thankfully, nobody stalls on the grid, and we disappear into a plume of spray as we come past the camera on the way in towards Duffy's Dip. It's GERAGHTY who leads from Wheatley and Weddle. John Duncan goes up the inside of Robbie Dalgleish and muscles his way through there sideways for David Slay. Ian Monroe goes down the escape road and rejoins back at the bottom, but GERAGHTY leads as they come through turn number 3 with John Duncan about to go underneath a gravelly excursion for Michael Weddle, and Ian Monroe also in the gravel trap now. So what a disaster for that man as he went off at turn 1 and then turn 3. Up the back straight though, we look and see through that ball of spray. Not nice conditions to be driving a race car in. Gotta say, it's good fun. Something's happened to Fiona Kindness as well. She's way at the back. John Duncan's got himself into 2nd place, so brilliant bit of driving. Fantastic opening first lap for John Duncan to get himself up into that 2nd place as he heads towards the hairpin. And it is Dom Wheatley. Robbie Dalgleish so has slithered alongside John Duncan, and he's put himself in front of him just now. Then we have got behind John Duncan Michael Weddle and Mark GERAGHTY side by side. Mark GERAGHTY not doing too well in this race. He's gone from pole down to 5th at the end of lap 1. He's got David Slay behind him. Then it looks like Dougie Simpson, Hannah Chapman, and then minis disappear into a ball of spray. And when you're driving up the straight behind them, that's basically all you can see. A bit of a fuzzy red rain light as over the top of Duffy's Dip come your race leaders. They start heading towards us now. Kind of reminiscent to what the British touring cars were like at Knockhill this year. The Dunlop MSA British touring car guys had a very, very wet day to look through, and their windscreens, wouldn't have seen much more than what the guys and girls in the minis are seeing just now. Yellow lights at the exit of chicane. That's actually on the outside road, so don't know why those yellow lights are on. Looks like a recovery is happening as Simon Holderness has a big moment going through chicane there. Would just catch a glimpse of that, and there's a change of lead almost. Robbie Dalgleish has got himself alongside Dom Wheatley as they go through Clark Corner, and whoa, that was some of the exit stage left there, or right as we look at it. He comes back onto the track. That was car number 11, Richard Sutherland, and Dalgleish manages to get back to the front, or he hits the front. We did see him at the front earlier on, and we saw him in the gravel trap earlier on actually, but Dom Wheatley won't be liking getting past, because he was the man who had the pace earlier on as we make their way up the main straight just now. Bit of jostling further down. That looks like David Slay's popped out from behind somebody. That would be Mark GERAGHTY, I believe. But Robbie Dalgleish leads over the apex of Duffy's Dip, chased by Dom Wheatley, then John Duncan in 3rd place. Then we've got Michael Weddle. Yes, it is still Michael Weddle. Then it's Hannah Chapman ahead of Mark GERAGHTY, David Slay, and Dougie Simpson showing very well at this early point in the race. Behind Dougie Simpson is Josh Hislop. Now we've got Ian Munro on a bit of a comeback drive as well. Ross Wilkinson in there, Ashley Morris. There's Ian Munro there behind Morris as they go through the chicane together. These conditions appalling for these guys to be racing in, but if you get a good setup on your car, it actually is quite good fun, believe it or not. I suppose it's worse for the people standing at the side supporting and watching on. As through comes Munro on Morris at Clark's. A good robust overtaking move, and that's Craig Blake. When we speak about robust, why does he pop into shot? It just kind of happens that way, unfortunately. Into the hairpin, David Slay is trying to post that mini through a small gap there. Geraghty doesn't want to force the issue too much. David Slay gives Mark Geraghty absolutely nowhere to go on the exit of the corner. David could have been a little bit nicer there, but then again, it's David. He doesn't want to be nice, and you don't blame him, because Mark Geraghty is a threat for taking points off him. In fact, he's not. He's a guest of the championship, but David Slay doesn't care, does he? He now lets Dougie Simpson get past Mark Geraghty on the straight as well. As your leader goes through, Robbie Dalgleish. Oh, Dom Wheatley's understeered off the track. How far wide has he gone? Well, wide enough for him to be kicking himself in the car, but he hasn't lost any positions as John Duncan, the Mini Max car, goes through the chicane, chased by Hannah Chapman up the back straight in her Clone Motorsport car. Here comes Robbie Dalgleish, runs his car himself and does an absolute fabulous job of it. Through comes Dom Wheatley, Performance Tech, I believe, as he heads towards the hairpin. And then Michael Weddle. Well, Michael Weddle is a teammate of John Duncan, and there definitely isn't any team orders here. Michael Weddle's definitely out racing for himself, having fun. Chappers, the former Minimax teammate of John Duncan, slides up the inside, and the Ram tubular car gets into that second place before she accelerates out from the hairpin up the main straight now. So she's in the third place now. What can she do? What can she do about Dom Wheatley? They have history. Chapman and Wheatley definitely have history. And let's see where this one ends up as Wheatley goes into Duffy's Dip. Chapman really looks like she's on a charge. She's already gapped, pursuing John Duncan in a group of 4 cars, all thunder through our shot. Michael Weddle, wow! Sideways over the top of Duffy's Dip and holds that one beautifully. David Slay will be catching a whole look at that as Mark Geraghty slides into McIntyre's and slides out, and Dougie Simpson goes past him. Bits of the number 1 car falling off as he goes through the gravel trap there. So Mark Geraghty covering quite a lot of ground, it would seem, out here just now. The man who won race number 1, but doesn't look like he's going to win race number 2. You ask me who the fastest lap of the race is. Who's that? That's David Slay or Josh Webster. Difficult to see. That was David Slay. A massive moment at Clark Corner there. And just as I look at the timing screen, that all kind of unfolded right in front of me. Michael Weddle's there. And where is the DSR car? David Slay racing car has disappeared from our shot. And that's a bit of a worry. As through goes Weddle and Simpson as we look down. David Slay should be the next car on track, we hope. Well, it's not. He's just ahead of his teammate just now, but he is behind Mark Geraghty again on the road as they go over the crest of the hill and in towards a very, very wet Duffy's Dip area of the circuit. Hannah Chapman ahead of Dom Wheatley now. And Hannah looks like she's got a pretty good head of steam here. Fastest lap of the race, Robbie Dalgleish with a 68.3 second. So you bear that on what they were doing in race number 1, where the fastest lap of the race for Dom Wheatley was a 66.0. So they're 2 seconds off the time in the first race. Such is the amount of water that's now on the circuit here. It really is affecting how these guys and girls are driving these little minis around the circuit. As we make our way through the course of this race, visibility is absolutely key, so you would imagine they would have the wipers on all the time, Rain-X as well, and they would be doing something, treating the inside of the windscreen. And Craig Blake, big sideways through Clark Corner there. Once again, that's just the style of that young man. It's kind of how it happens with Craig Blake. But keeping the inside of your windscreen clean is just so important as well. I don't think the minis have heated windscreens. If you look at some of them, certainly some of them don't have them on, or they're not working, as David Slay homes up towards the back of Mark Geraghty, pops out from the slipstream on the straight. Does that DSR car have enough speed under the bonnet to get past? As we look back from McIntyre's, there's John Duncan all on his own. Then we have Weddle coming through. Then we've got Simpson. No, David Slay couldn't get past Mark Geraghty. And whether he notices up the road, John Duncan is doing an absolute marvellous job right now of collecting championship points. Slay's underneath Geraghty as they go in towards Butcher's. Geraghty chops the nose off the number 5 car. Over the crest of the hill they go, and the camera pans back to see Simon Holderness sliding into the gravel trap at McIntyre's, then drives forward into the gravel trap to do a nice little turn through. And it shows you just how wet and soggy those gravel traps are. Yes, it slowed him down, but he then also managed to drive over the top of it. If it was dry and that was nice and light and fluffy, that car wouldn't have been going anywhere. As they come in towards the hairpin once again, David Slay now ahead of Mark GERAGHTY. These guys coming in, Slay on the inside. GERAGHTY having a little sniff around the back bumper of that number 5 car. But up towards the finish line they go. David Slay needs these points so badly. He needs to get good points because John Duncan is there going through the shot, and between them we've got Michael Weddle and Dougie Simpson just now over the crest of his dip. There goes David Slay, chased hard by Mark GERAGHTY. Slay was sideways there. Let's hope David Slay managed to hold that together as Michael Weddle also goes sideways. Yes, David Slay did hold that together. He did manage to keep that in a straight line eventually, but we saw him going out of our view and that thing was proper sideways. We catch back up with Hannah Chapman. One person we haven't seen very much of is car number 91, the red car of Robbie Dalgleish. That was Hannah Chapman who went through in 2nd place, Dom Wheatley 3rd, John Duncan 4th. But Robbie Dalgleish still leads the way. He's still the fastest man on circuit with a 68.3 second lap. And Robbie Dalgleish just minding his own business, some 5.8 seconds further up the road as Weddle has Simpson problems at the hairpin. Now, can Simpson cut back through the apex, the corner and exit underneath Weddle? No, he can't. Michael Weddle dealt with that very, very well. And here's your race leader, Robbie Dalgleish. Yeah, we haven't seen much of you, pal, but through he goes. Race number 1 didn't go too well for young Robbie, shall we say, where he had a couple of excursions which we're not used to seeing him doing. He finished in 4th place, and right now he's currently leading the way in this one. He'll be much happier being at the front, one would imagine. It's always great when you're leading a race. But Dalgleish on his way to a decent victory. Simon Holderness leaves the hairpin and makes his way up the main straight. He'll be pretty happy with that one as well after being in the gravel trap at McIntyre's. And here comes Robbie Dalgleish into the hairpin. Flashes past our camera. The camera waits. You can count the seconds if you want. How many elephants or Mississippis you have. There comes Hannah Chapman now, and that gap, looking at our screen last time in towards the hairpin, 6.1 seconds was the gap. 6.1 seconds Robbie Dalgleish has put into the rest of the field. And fair play to Hannah. Hannah's fought through, and she's fought up to a very good 2nd place right now as we pick up Michael Weddle coming through, who is, well, he's still got Dougie Simpson behind him and trying very hard. Another great showing from Simpson. We've seen him before up at the front, but drifted away midway through the season, and the checkered flag's actually come out. The checkered flag right at the very end there, so it's a win for Robbie Dalgleish. He'll be delighted with that one. He takes a win from Hannah Chapman and Dom Wheatley. I think that checkered flag man has possibly had enough, and I don't blame him. The top 3, Dalgleish, Chapman and Wheatley, with John Duncan finishing in 4th place, and that's good for the championship. With David Slay finishing down in 7th, it's going to go down to the last race. Fiona, over to you.
Well done, Robbie. Another win for you. You made that look easy in the wet. Was it actually wet out there?
Yeah, I mean, we're quite lucky. There's 2 choices of tyres this year, and the old ones, which we can't use next year. We've got 4 pretty good ones left, and you can't get them now. So, to be honest, we're really lucky we managed to have them. Everyone's been saying the new ones are better in the wet, and whenever we've tested, we just can't find the grip, and then you just put them on. It's just like night and day. So yeah, it was a bit of a Sunday drive, to be honest, but I'm sure race 3 will be completely different.
I know you've just drawn 5th, is that right for race 3?
Yeah, drawn 5 for race 3. I'm not sure who that puts on pole, but 3rd row, so right in amongst the carnage for the last race of the season. So everyone's not got to worry about a car getting built up in time, so it's close your eyes sort of stuff.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I think you'll do pretty well in race 3.
Fingers crossed. Thanks.
Thanks, Robbie. So here is P2 finisher Hannah Chapman. Could you actually see anything? Because when you came in, I just saw these little gaps in your window where the steam was.
No, the entire car, between the spray from the cars in front when I was fighting my way through the pack, and then once I got free of them, my windscreen was just completely misted up. I just couldn't see a thing, but it was good to not have the spray as well. I mean, I was quite glad to get on my own for a bit. So it was just impossible to see. You just kind of hope for the best. But
I think if you had a few more laps, you could have caught up with Robbie.
I was trying. I seen him in the distance, but I was just having the chat with myself saying, right, you've got one more lap and then 2 more corners, 1 more corner. All you have to do is finish. Like, Dom was a fair bit back, so I was like, right, no pressure, don't do anything stupid, because this is where I normally throw it off and do something stupid. So I'm just delighted because my sponsors are here today: Ram Tubulars, RGR Logistics, Nexus 24, Sightmast Enterprises, Ajmal Steel. I just can't thank them all enough. I needed this before the end of the season, so I'm delighted.
Good, well, I look forward to seeing what you can do from P4 in race 3, coming through the pack again.
Thank you.
Okay, see you later. Well done, Dom. You were leading that race for a wee bit. I thought you were going to get it, and then Robbie came up behind.
Yeah, them guys just had so much more speed than me. I think we might need to look at the setup, but yeah, both of them drove fantastic. And like I say, I was hoping to move up one step, but I moved the wrong way on the podium. But I'm still happy with the good points for the championship this late on in the season, and hopefully next time I will move in the right direction.
Good, well, race 3 is going to be fun.
Yeah, with 5th drawn out, I think actually I don't change. I'm still 3rd, so hopefully good start down the inside, keep it clean, and again just try and get another finish like that.
Good, well, look forward to seeing what you can do, and hopefully you're back on the podium race 3.
Spot on, thanks.
So this is it. The championship comes down to race 3. Let the best man win. Duncan, over to you for the commentary.
Thank you very much, Fiona. And wow, look at the conditions. They just are not ideal, are they? And especially when it's down to deciding a championship. So really it's between John Duncan, number 24, and car number 5, which is David Slay. It's going to be war. Minis always give us some fabulous action. But these conditions definitely throw a spanner in the works as Michael Weddle comes through the hairpin in the number 7 Mini. He heads up to his grid slot. You can see the grid marshals are on the track and things are just about getting set here. Once we get the cars in positions, we will fire them down towards Duffus Dip for the race start. The final mini race of 2018, the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup. Well, it all comes down to this. John Duncan versus David Slay, with a whole heap of other headbangers well and truly thrown into the mix. Does it get any better? Scottish motorsport pretty much thriving just now, and the Minis right at the forefront of it. One man we're going to have to keep our eyes on. You can see him on the right hand side, 85, or Craig Blake, I should say, number 95 is Craig. He's somebody that gives us a lot of action. He's not had the greatest of weekends, and young Ashley Morris just alongside him pulling into her grid slot as well. A few other people further down than we would expect. Ross Wilkinson as well. We saw Ross feature further up in the reverse direction meeting and another meeting as well, but unfortunately it's just not worked. Whether it's a wet weather, whether it's a little bit of car setup, he will be meaning to get back towards the front, and don't discount him here because he could come through the pack. So the grid marshals, just a few little tweaks of a few cars to get them in position. Look, they're all kind of set in a different way so they can try and spot the lights. That's what they're trying to do here. There's the main lights on the bridge, there are repeater lights on the gantry and on the pit wall, but the green flag gets shown at the back. Out comes the 1 minute board. Tension rises. The final mini race, the championship, is to be decided, and after this race we will have a brand new champion. Outgoing champion Mark GERAGHTY has been here this weekend, and he's shown us that he still has a pace. He has had a race win, but how will he fare in the final? 30-second boards. These are long drawn out 30 seconds and minutes for these drivers in the car. Heated windscreens, if they're working, will be on. Heaters possibly blowing some air. You've got to make sure you can see where you're going. And the next board will be the 5-second board. And as a driver, you just want that board to come out a little bit quicker than it's doing right now. They really are holding the drivers and building up the tension as the lights start to come on. Let's see who gets a jump. A full complement of lights and not kill. Lights out and let's go down towards Duffus Dip. It's a pretty clean start from everybody, and it looks like Weddle and Duncan are going to go side by side into Duffus Dip. This is a big gamble for John Duncan as they come in towards turn number 1 through plumes of spray, and he takes the lead from Michael Weddle as they go through Leslie's in towards turn 3. Dom Wheatley up the inside into the side of Robbie Dalgleish and GERAGHTY, both wide into the gravel trap at the exit of turn 3, rejoining at turn 4. as John Duncan leads going up the back straight through chicane. Oh, mayhem behind. That's Craig Blake involved. Dougie Simpson there as well, and Geraghty is turned round into the gravel trap just before the chicane. Now that must have happened. A little bit of congestion there as Geraghty rejoined the track. Simpson does a nice 3-point turn, gets away from the chicane, and out comes the safety car to get Mark Geraghty. What a shame for the outgoing champion to see his championship not getting stolen away, because he hasn't raced much this year, but it's getting taken away by another driver, and he's lying in the gravel trap getting recovered from the Butcher Chicane complex by the Recovery Discovery. But what a start from John Duncan. Now that well and truly advantage to John Duncan, car 24, because David Slay there going through the shop. Well, he needs to be further up than that. There's just no way about it. If John Duncan wins the race, David Slay cannot languish about down in 4th, 5th position. He needs to be right on the back of him, and ultimately you want to win the race to get the championship. So let's see what David Slay has in his locker as the safety car pulls in, and John Duncan now, look at that, that's a healthy little lead John Duncan's got there over Michael Weddle, then Hannah Chapman, David Slay, Dom Wheatley, Robbie Dalgleish, Ian Murnone. A bit of a gap back to car number 6 was Josh Hislop as we go over the crest of the hill through the plumes of spray in towards Duffus Dip. John Duncan just feeling his way around the circuit just now, but he's in the absolute perfect position. Lead from the front, get clear vision, make sure you don't make any mistakes. The championship will be yours. Or have that happen to you like Ross Wilkinson's just had a moment going down Duffus Dip, land in the grass at the bottom, and your championship goes, well, basically goes south, doesn't it? So Wilkinson will get going from there as we see Mark Geraghty coming through alongside Dougie Simpson as well. And that was after their clash. They had a lap ago at this very corner just now, but through Clark's comes your race leader John Duncan, from Michael Weddle, from Hannah Chapman, Robbie Dalgleish making a move, looking at David Slay now. So David Slay, things gone from bad to worse for the number 5 car, because he's got what we could class as the form man alongside him on the outside though, coming into the hairpin. Surely Dalgleish can't go round the outside of David Slay, can he? He's got Hannah Chapman there as well. He's trying it, he's alongside and through. What a great manoeuvre by number 91 Robbie Dalgleish. Outside, over the front of David Slay, and then he's trying to go underneath Chappers as they go up the main straight towards Duffus Dip. So great bit of racecraft from Robbie Dalgleish as we watch Craig Dillon put a couple of wheels in the gravel there, and he gets Chappers as well. So 2 cars and 2 corners for number 91 Robbie Dalgleish. He definitely has the pace. Oh, it's David Slay sides up the inside of Hannah Chapman, and he runs wide. David Slay, a little bit of desperation creeping in there from the very experienced man. He knows he has to get further up, and he does know he also has the pace to do it. As Fee Kindness comes through in the Track Scotland car just ahead of Mark Geraghty, but Robbie Dalgleish looks like he has the pace in that car to possibly win this race, but he's got to try and catch up with Weddle and John Duncan. John Duncan won't put up too much of a fight, you would imagine, but look at that, he's already past Michael Weddle as they go in through Clark Corner. So Robbie Dalgleish lights ablaze alongside Weddle. Weddle's trying to tough out with him as they come in towards the hairpin, but he's on the inside. You'd imagine that would be the prime spot, but just look at the commitment and grip that Robbie Dalgleish has. Little tap in the back from Michael Weddle, car number 7 there to Dalgleish. And if anything, that's upset Michael Weddle, and Hannah Chapman now comes through and him up the main straight. Meanwhile, David Slay sits behind the 4 of them, watching it all, pulls out just to try and get a little bit of clear visibility there, but there's not much chance of that on a very wet not killed. Dalgleish now all over the back of John Duncan. John Duncan needs to think bigger picture here, because that's what it's all about. He doesn't want to put up too much of a fight with Robbie Dalgleish, but having said that, a win will sign, seal and deliver the championship, and there's absolutely nothing David Slay will be able to do about it. As we see somebody else now going off, oh, that's Simon holding this backwards into the tyre wall. Now that's a long, long way away from the track. We don't normally see cars hitting the tyre wall across there, but car number 52 into the tyre wall at Leslie's as Dalgleish now leads from John Duncan and Hannah Chapman. Oh, side-to-side contact, Weddle and Slay. That's something we don't expect to see. I haven't said that's minis, we do expect to see that, but we wouldn't expect David Slay to be putting that much on the line as they come in towards the hairpin. Dom Wheatley's going to try and make it 3 wide, but he thinks discretion is the better part just now. Nobody really wants to career into the side or the back of David Slay. They know he's up for a championship here. But as it sits just now, it will be John Duncan who takes it as we go up over the crest of the hill in towards Duffus Dip. Look at this man, Robbie Dalgleish. He's been absolutely sensational when he's been at Knockhill this year. He has had a couple of rounds that he's missed. He's been away. Oh, David Slay, what's going on? Sideways into the gravel trap. He lost that going through Leslie's. He gets back on. Does he lose the position? Yes, that's his teammate Josh Hislop that gets past him. And David Slay, it's just not working for him here in this last race for the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cups. Didn't expect David to do that. Big moment going through Leslie's. Managed to keep his foot in it. Didn't really lose too much time, but that could have been it all over there, as John Duncan won't have any idea that's actually happened yet. As he comes through, there's Josh Hislop just ahead of David Slay now. Will he be looking in his mirrors? Sees team leader, boss and owner coming up behind him. Ooh, it's testing times for David Slay now as Hannah Chapman slithers through on John Duncan. John Duncan making this, just doing exactly what he needs to do here. A third place finish will be absolutely perfect. It will seal the championship up for him just now, as David Slay has to get past his teammate, and he also has to try and get back past Dom Wheatley as well to try and keep this championship alive. Or not Dom Wheatley, Ian Munro and Dom Wheatley it would need to be to keep the championship alive, and that right now is a very, very tall order as we see these guys coming through turn 3, which is McIntyre's. Dom Wheatley's been very quick all day. Ian Munro, couple of flashes, but just not being the normal Munro that we normally see. Two DSR cars go through the chicane as we go back towards Clark's. We wait on Robbie Dalglish coming through. Wipers on, lights on, nice bit of exit curb as he goes towards the hairpin. Chapper's exactly the same, bit of trim hanging off. Then John Duncan, then Weddle. Now Michael Weddle is riding shotgun for John Duncan. The two Mini-Max teammates working it out there. Michael Weddle's wrapped up the Newcomers Championship, so he won't want to do anything silly. And this is looking absolutely perfect for John Duncan. He's got his teammate behind him who knows he will just sit there. He's not going to make things difficult for him, but it is going to make things difficult for people to get past and attack John Duncan as the rest of the field all come through. Ash Morris a little bit out of place today, down in 15th position right now as Robbie Dalglish comes through a very murky Leslie's turn 2. And then goes through turn 3, which is McIntyre's. You can see the gravel on the track there, which was deposited by David Slay a lap or so ago. And now Dom Wheatley's coming up towards the back of Michael Weddle, but it doesn't look like David Slay is. He has got past Josh Hislop, sorry. Now David Slay, he needs to get Ian Munro. He definitely must get Ian Munro and Dom Wheatley to try and keep this championship alive. As Craig Blake goes through our shot. Craig Dillon as well, and Dougie Simpson takes a whole heap of sausage curb going through there in these absolutely atrocious conditions which we have at Knockhill. It was always forecast to be bad weather, but it certainly has rolled in as 91 Robbie Dalglish comes through the hairpin and accelerates up towards the start-finish line. Through the gears he goes, gets the pit board hung out. Hannah Chapman also. Then we've got John Duncan. Michael Weddle puts a wheel in the gravel trap, but he's the rear gunner. Then we've got Dom Wheatley behind him, and Ian Munro and David Slay. Slay can just see it ahead of him, and it's just too far up the road, and this will be really, it'll be agony to be inside the car, but David's just got to hold it together. He knows he has the speed, but he also needs a couple of people to possibly slip off the road in front of him, and it'll make things an awful lot easier as the top two have already gone through the chicane. Then we get 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th with David Slay as the camera pans back. Usually when it pans back he's been picking somebody up sliding through the gravel, but not this time thankfully, as Dalglish exits Clark Corner, heads towards the hairpin, followed by Chappers with still that little bit trim hanging off the side of her Ram Tubular Mini. Then the two Mini-Max cars, line astern, Dom Wheatley, Munro, then Slay. Is David Slay starting to slowly catch up with Ian Munro? Well, from that camera view, no, but the exit of Clark's, it looked like he was. As he come in towards the hairpin once again, these tricky weather conditions, it's so easy to make a mistake, lock a wheel up, and before you know it, you're in the gravel trap. As we come up over the crest off the hill, passing the last lap board, so things now starting to get a little bit twitchy in the driver's seat of that number 24 car for John Duncan. He just needs to hold it together here as Dalglish streams away at the front and heads towards the chicane and Clark section of Knockhill. As we look back on the main street, that was, I don't know who that was that went through there. It's a lot of water out there just now. That's definitely Craig Blake going through our shot. As we are looking back from the entrance to turn 1 at Knockhill itself, And there goes Robbie Dalgleish, chased by Hannah Chapman. Big gap back then to car number 24 there. And through come the next lot. And look at David Slade. David Slade has done miracles on this lap. He's got right up to the back of Ian Munro. Now, if he gets Ian Munro, it's going to be pretty tight actually for the championship. If he gets Munro, it's going to go back on a count back, but up towards the checkered flag goes the man who's going to take another victory. Robbie Dalgleish wins. Hannah Chapman takes second place, and John Duncan, if he gets third place, no matter what David Slade does, the count back will go in favour of the number 24 car. John Duncan wins the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup Championship for 2018. He crosses the line. He will be absolutely in bits inside that race car. Congratulations, John. What a year you have had. And what a deserved champion as well. David Slade, well, he's put up a very, very good championship fight this year. It's been fabulous having David back in the championship, but John Duncan is the man of the year. He takes the championship with a very well-driven third place there. Fastest lap of the race and race win go to car number 91, Robbie Dalgleish, and he really has been stellar this year as well. So let's hand down to Fiona. She will be there and hopefully with our 2018 Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup champion.
We are here with our 2018 Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup champion. How does that feel?
It sounds like a cliche, but it's hard to put into words. It really is. As we said there to Dave, 3 years ago I'd never raced a car in my life, ever. And now we're here. It just doesn't feel quite real yet. But I also said it's not just down to me, it's down to Minimax, it's down to my sponsors, it's down to the team behind me, my family. They're the ones that kept me going through it and kept me strong. I think we qualified 15th this morning, so we didn't make it easy. But it was never done in my head, it was never over. You know, I knew there was always a chance to do it, and I think where I actually got it done today was the first race, believe it or not. That was just pure survival, the third race. Getting out of people's way and not putting up any resistance. Whenever I saw someone behind me, I just jumped out of the way. But yeah, just delighted.
It went right down to the wire. You couldn't have predicted that at all, and it's not gone. You've finished the race equal on points. It didn't go down to race wins, it went down to second places. That just shows you how close this championship is.
That's why I joined this championship. It's the best one to watch, it's the best one to be a part of, and it produces excitement and drama like that. I think this is probably our swan song in it. I don't know if I'll be racing again, so just happy to finish this way.
You'll have to come back and defend your title.
Too old, I'm too tired. I'm not coming back.
Well, I'll let you go and celebrate, and congratulations once again.
A hug.
Well done, Robbie. What a way to end the season.
Yeah, great way to end the season. 2 wins out of 3. Really happy, great day. Great year, to be honest. If we hadn't missed that round, I'd fancy our chances for the championship. Not sure how many points we ended up behind, but we've been at the top all year. A couple of DNFs, but no, been a really good year, really positive. Can't thank my sponsors enough. Evolution PPS. They've kind of become racing fans now. They've been to every race this year and stuff like that, and they're really enjoying it, so I can't thank them enough.
You've definitely done yourself and your sponsors and your family proud. Are you coming back next year to win the championship?
Yeah, so next year our plans, I think, is to do the mini challenge again and also come back here and try win this, because we've been too close for about 4 years now. So yeah, try come back and win it next year.
Good, well congratulations once again, and I look forward to seeing you next year.
Thanks very much.
Happy to finish, you must be happy.
I couldn't be more happy about this, just from the way the day started and how my season's gone with the DNFs that I've had and bad luck and mistakes I've made myself. I just couldn't ask for a better way to finish the season. All I wanted was for today to go well, get back on the overall podium, and I did it, so I couldn't leave the championship more happy. So I'm just delighted.
You've ended the season in style anyway. What are your plans for next year?
Next year, this is my last ever race in the famous Lola, so I am moving on. I'm going to race national minis in the Cooper class in Mini Challenge, so see what I can do there. Just hopefully I have a bit of better luck, so we'll see what I can do.
Well, best of luck. We're going to miss you up here in Scotland, but yeah, best wishes for the future.
Thank you.
finished fourth. Is it fourth? Behind,
Yes, yes.
behind our new champion. Was there team tactics involved there, just trying to protect him?
Well, we spoke about it before the race, and we kind of realised I've not had a race win this year, so I thought if he's ahead of me by Duffus, then just sit behind him. He done that. To be honest, I couldn't keep up with his pace anyway, even if I wanted to. John was on it all season, so he thoroughly deserves it. So well done, John.
We're going to see you back next year.
Definitely.
Well, it's been entertaining watching you, and can't wait to see you next year.
Thank you.
So that's it. The Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup Championship for 2018 is over. We have our winner, John Duncan. We'll see you again next year for more action.